And anal sex is super, I mean, it's like probably the number one thing they do in porn. So almost everybody has to have it.
Correct. If you want any longevity in the industry, you will be required to perform.
Please say that. For girls who think they're going to get in and do girl on girl,
right?
That is a myth.
Right. I actually, on that note, I do want to again inform anyone considering participating that the concept of the porn star is relatively outdated. You know, like levels of fame or celebrity a la Jenna Jameson or Sasha Grey are kind of just unheard of.
Yeah.
Due to just, you know, industry changes of like industry culture and economic, like they call it fresh meat or new pussy.
Yeah.
Again, I put it in quotes because that's how it's referred to in the industry. It's just a constant turnover. I like to think of it as a puppy mill or like a meat grinder. Because it's constant turnover. It's called the burn and churn. If you even are able to achieve longevity in the porn industry, it's going to be very difficult, and it's going to require willingness on your part to perform increasingly extreme acts such as double penetration, double vaginal, double anal, gangbangs, BDSM or abuse or rape porn.
You went into this industry almost a virgin. How do you handle double penetration? I mean, I can't imagine that you could get through that without a ton of alcohol and a ton of drugs. I mean, for girls who think like, I don't care how much you like sex, I can't imagine that that's comfortable for anybody.
That's why in my experience, the most common drug of abuse in the industry are opiates.
Painkillers.
Correct, for that reason. Most common drug of choice I witnessed in the industry.
And do you think that's the reason? Because it's just so painful?
It does, obviously. They very much numb you to any physical pain you may be experiencing at work.
Yeah.
And also, I think that whether girls realize it at the time or not, because again, a lot of the content is inherently abusive and violent these days.
Yeah.
I don't think girls realize that it is psychologically and emotionally traumatizing.
Yeah.
It's traumatizing for your body.
Yeah.
And for your mind. And so those drugs also emotionally, psychologically numb women, because otherwise they would probably be very overwhelmed.
Yeah.
By what they're experiencing. I'm sorry?
Are opioids offered to you on set?
In my experience, they're not offered on set purely for liability reasons. Companies, like, it's usually like the producers themselves, like the company associates don't want to be affiliated with anything that could come back to them. It's more common for agents to provide things like that because they don't really have any liability to the set. And it's a lot of girls either work for pimps or have abusive boyfriends. We call them suitcase pimps. And it's usually like the men in the women's personal lives who will provide those sorts of things, or girls will provide their own.
The suitcase
purely for legal reasons.
The suitcase pimps, the boyfriends, are they getting paid?
They usually, again, that's why we call them suitcase pimps, is because they're the guy you see always carrying the girl's bag to set and picking her up and taking her to and from set. And they kind of pose as this like intimate relationship or a boyfriend, but they're actually keeping their girlfriend's money. Interestingly enough, I read Jenna Jameson's novel, How to Make Love Like a Porn Star, which is a cautionary tale according to her. And she has an entire section on these suitcase pimps that we're all too familiar with in the industry. It's always the guy, again, like picking the girl up, dropping her off, carrying her bags, and he's keeping her money. And he's usually supplying the drugs.
And is that what you would call your first pimp? Like that's what he did?
Actually, yes. I would consider him to be my suitcase pimp in retrospect. that's the kind of relationship we had, even though I was not aware of it at the time.
Like, so someone thinks they're going to get into this industry and then they're going to get out. I'm going to make some money and I'm going to get out. And what happens, Cece?
Like, I also thought that maybe I could do that for a while and then leave and act like it never happened.
Right.
And it just doesn't work that way for a number of reasons. First being, the industry is not anonymous. It is only inevitable that your stage name will eventually be linked to your legal information, usually through porn wiki leaks or a variety of other websites that reveal porn stars' legal names, addresses, date of birth, phone numbers, social media profiles. Because there are individuals who actively seek out that information and release it. Yeah. So eventually, on like search engine results and your stage name, your porn will be linked back to your legal information.
Which is why we are actually changing your name for this, out of respect for you. But on that note, I want to say that another girl that I spoke to who left the industry, you know, she said I could work anywhere for 4 months, but, you know, eventually it always comes back to me that someone figures out that that's who I was. I was a porn star and they know something about me and they'll bring it up to me. And she's like, you know, even the agent that she had has her picture on the home screen of his agency. And she's like, I have no rights over my own imagery that's out there on the internet. So even if I go on there today, my picture is like front and center on his page. She's like, so I can literally never get away from it. So
mine is front and center, but my photos are also still up on all of my former agents' websites.
No control over it. You have no power.
No, I don't have any. You release all rights and privileges, unfortunately.
That's why I want to change this, because that is ridiculous.
Right. Because as of right now, there's nothing girls can do about that. But I also
talk about how hard that is. Can you talk, so the girl who thinks she's getting in and she's getting out, she now has no control over her image. She will forever have her images out there as a porn star. Right. So for any girl who's thinking that she's going to get in quickly and get out, you have no control over your image, and that stays with you forever, that you're out there as this porn star. And Cece, in your experience, how does that affect you when you try to move on?
Well, I do want, kind of on that note, because I've known so many girls who come into the industry saying, oh, I just need to make some money real quick, and then I'm going to do something else, or I'm going to get out, and I haven't told my family or friends or boyfriend, and I'm just going to like hide it. And I just want them to know that it's inevitable that your family and friends will find it. They're going to find out. So because I've known so many girls who actually weren't interested in a porn star career or any longevity of that sort. Like, I've known a lot of girls who just said they needed to make quick cash and move on to something else. Because obviously a lot of the girls entering the industry, including myself, I was thinking in the short term, you know, because I was young.
I
just didn't see the big picture.
Yeah.
And so I want girls to know that this is a permanent, life-changing decision. It's absolutely 100% permanent.
Permanent, life-changing.
Yes. It's once it's done, it's forever.
Yes.
Forever and ever and ever until the end of time. It'll be there when you die, you know, it's forever. So I want girls to just really, really take that into consideration, really sit down and...
How about the social ramifications of it afterward? Like, tell me about the social ramifications.
So, some of like the most intense, like psychological, emotional pain I've experienced post industry is the sense of being like a social pariah, being like like ostracized and condemned by not only like people in my life, but just kind of society at large. I will say that because I worked in the sex industry for 5 years.
Yeah.
That 5-year gap on my resume.
Yeah.
With which I can't discuss, obviously, with employers.
Right.
Has made it so challenging to find any decent kind of work.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Out of the business, because like girls in the industry, like they never finish their college degree, like they don't pick up any vocational skills, no valuable, marketable, any kind of skills working in the industry. Like if you do want to move on, it's just extremely challenging. And I've had
the health fallout, you know, because I mean, not from you, but from another ex adult actress that I spoke to. I mean, she's like, I literally have had half of my cervix cut out. Like, I don't even think I can have children. Like, I'm like, that is so sad. I mean, first of all, this girl is as much as you are a lovely person, she's a lovely person. And I think these misconceptions, it's so sad because, you know, I want to say, how many people are watching porn? Would you invite a porn star to sit at your dinner table? I can say I would, but you know, people are happy having it in their bedroom, but yet they'll make you a social pariah.
I had a man once tell me, it was like shortly after I left the industry, and it was just like a social engagement, and it was just an acquaintance of like a friend of mine.
Yeah.
But I've had men tell me things like, women like you disgust me, but I would still have sex with you.
Oh.
Or like, and I've also had, it was actually like a client, as a sex worker, like a client once said, like, these are just the way men view you. But he said that, he's like, I would have sex with you, but I would burn the sheets afterwards. So, it's so interesting that
it's a much larger cultural conversation.
Why is it that society condemns and ostracizes women like me, the suppliers, the providers, but no one ever says anything about the person consuming it, the one who's creating the demand for that supply?
And the irony is, exactly, and then the other irony is that we know that porn stars become social pariahs, and yet girls are wanting to go into this industry. Like there is no logic to this. It's like like this man perception of what women are supposed to be. Like going back to Gail Dines, you're fuckable or invisible, and then you become the most fuckable and you become invisible.
Wow. Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely. Well said, Steph.
Well said. Yes.